Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. This podcast features powerful hypnosis, so do not listen while driving or operating machinery. This recording is not suitable for those with epilepsy or severe mental health issues. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and in this episode of The Hypnotist, you'll be listening to a hypnosis session that was created for a lady that wanted to quit smoking, but couldn't really deal with the cravings that she had whenever she thought about not quitting. Now, there's two key elements to cravings. One is that when you make an absolute definite decision and you just write off any other possibility, in a strange way, cravings disappear. Cravings exploit uncertainty. So if you say to yourself, well, I really shouldn't smoke, or I don't really want to smoke, or I'm going to try to quit smoking, the cravings are going to be very strong. If, however, there is an absolute buy-in to a new identity of being a non-smoker, cravings are virtually non-existent. You get the slight nicotine cravings, which are physiological and biological, but effectively they're not as intense. In her case, she hadn't bought into the identity of being a non-smoker yet, so she had quite severe cravings, and these cravings are what kept her smoking for around about 30 years. And when I asked the question, what has smoking cost her in terms of the consequences, it cost her health. She'd been diagnosed with cancer twice. It cost her relationship with key family members. It cost, there's a financial cost to being addicted to tobacco. So she could think of all these detrimental things. And more importantly, when she described the craving, she used this phrase. She said, "It feels like it's eating me from the inside." Now, if anyone genuinely felt that something was eating them from the inside and the only way to stop that was to smoke, anyone would smoke, even a non-smoker. But that's just a belief system. It's a perception. It's an unconscious metaphor. So I needed to harness the same physiological trigger to increase the resolve not to smoke, rather than believe that smoking is going to placate that sensation. And it reminded me of a conversation that my dentist actually had with me about a parasite with a woman that traveled in the Amazon. And there was this particular parasite that kind of got into her cheek, the flesh of her cheek, and it burrowed into her skin, and it was quite deep, and they couldn't get it out, and it was there for months. And eventually they had to weirdly have layers of bacon over the surface until it burrowed into the bacon, and then they could quickly kind of grab it and pinch it and kind of pull it out. But it was in there, and obviously whenever they tried to remove the parasite, it dug deeper and was quite painful. So that kind of desire to leave it alone feels like it's the right thing to do because you avoid pain in the short term, but actually you create a bigger problem in the long term. Parasites typically grow. So in this hypnosis session, what you're going to hear is a very graphic hypnotic metaphor where smoking addiction is linked to the idea of it being a parasite. And again, I always calibrate with the individual. For her, the creature that she had the most intense emotional disgust for was some kind of bug. And I said, of all the bugs, what one creates the biggest reaction for you? And it was a cockroach-looking bug. So what you'll hear in this hypnosis session is me suggesting that her smoking addiction is like a parasite that looks like a large cockroach there in her gut, and that the only way to remove or to kill this parasite is to starve it to death. And it only eats one thing, and that's the nicotine that comes from tobacco. And to begin with, this creature is going to crave and demand and try and manipulate to encourage more, because otherwise its very life is at stake. Is at stake. So, and that mirrors this idea that an addiction is most intense when you're first starting to leave an addiction. That's when the withdrawals are the hardest, and then it kind of gets easier over time. So the whole purpose of this is to get her into a state where previously the cravings would make her want to smoke. This now creates a framework, a reframe, where the cravings increase the resolve to starve the parasite, which if that kind of pans out into her reality, means that the belief system is that smoking keeps this parasite alive, and she has enough evidence in her life as to all the consequences that this smoking addiction had in her life. And a parasite typically does that. It takes from the host. So I felt that this was quite a useful metaphor. If you're listening to this and you think, this is helpful for you, but obviously realizing that it was calibrated and created for someone else, but you have an addiction, maybe not smoking, maybe it's alcohol, cocaine, sugar, something like that, and you want me to work with you to create sessions to remove your addictions, there will be a link nearby where you can book a free 30-minute consultation call, and I can talk through how I would work with you. But you never know, this session, even though it was created for someone else, might be useful for you. So find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed, relax, and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in, imagine breathing in a resourceful feeling of relaxation. And as you exhale, allow your eyelids to close as you start to drift into a feeling of deep relaxation. That's right. Breathing in and breathing out. And I want you to get a sense that with each and every breath, you're breathing in a resourceful feeling of relaxation, and you're exhaling tension, stress, and worries. That's right. Sometimes it's useful to use the power of your imagination to imagine a vibrant, bright beam of healing white light. And imagine that as you breathe in through the nose, that bright, healing white light goes through your nose into your lungs. And I want you to get a sense that in doing so, it's giving you the feeling of rejuvenation. Then on your outward breath, I want you to get a sense that tension, stress, but also anything undesirable, any emotional states that's been influencing your health and well-being in a detrimental way leaves in your outward breath. Perhaps you can perceive that a vibrant, bright healing white light goes in through your nose, but on your outward breath, imagine something shadowy or darker leaving your body, representing the tension, stress, anxieties, or unresourceful states that are leaving your body in that outward breath, enabling you to go deeper and deeper, relaxed. Now, continue to breathe in and breathe out, and just adjust your body in a way that enables you to feel comfortable in your own skin. Notice your eyelids getting heavier and heavier. That's it. The way you breathe can be deeper. Give permission to reduce tension around your jaw, your neck, your forehead. And in doing so, that's it. You allow more of that healing white light to go in. And as you exhale, notice that more of that dark, shadowy representation of anything unresourceful is leaving your body in that outward breath. That's it. So just by breathing in and breathing out, you're going deeper and deeper, relaxed. That's it. I want you to use the power of your imagination to imagine a beach by the ocean. And when one particular beach comes to mind, just let me know by nodding your head. There we go. And you can see that beach, but I want you to imagine that beach on a sunny day, perfect weather, calm waves, with no one else there. Just imagine it completely private, a beach just for you. And then rather than seeing the beach, I want you to imagine seeing yourself on that beach. A version of you on that beach, ready to make a change. A powerful change where that version of you is going to get their life back. And if you can see a version of you on that beach, willing and ready to make a significant life change, where the future becomes more desirable than the current trajectory, let me know by nodding your head. And when you're ready to make that change, I want you to step into that version of you ready to make the change, and let me know by nodding your head when you're in that body. There we go. Then just imagine you're no longer seeing yourself on the beach, but you're feeling like you're there on the beach. Maybe you can feel your feet on the sand of the beach beneath. Maybe you can imagine feeling the warmth of the sun on your skin. Maybe you can get a sense that there's a gentle breeze, that sea air that just feels healthy as you breathe in and breathe out. And I want you to get a sense, a deep sense, that as you breathe in and breathe out there on that beach, something significant, powerful, life-changing is about to happen. And sometimes we have to realize what's been happening all along. What we thought was empowering us in some way, making us cool or significant or rebellious or confident or empowered, is actually something very different. There are whole industries built on the idea that the benefits of what something is sold on quite often are the polar opposite of what they actually deliver and do. As you breathe in and breathe out, I want you to get a sense that you were sold a lie. I want you to think back to the very first time that you had that very first cigarette. Imagine yourself back then. And I want you to imagine experiencing that cigarette for the very first time. And at that point, before the addictions, before your brain changed the rules as to what it meant, that very first experience, the unpleasant smell, your body's natural reaction to that was probably the most honest representation of smoking that you ever had. And if you remember it being unpleasant, maybe disgusting, the smell, the taste, what it did to your lungs, your throat, the aftertaste, if you get a sense that it was just deeply unpleasant, let me know by nodding your head. That's it. And since then, I want you to imagine that something happened where you've justified continuing to smoke because of those perceived benefits. But what if the perceived benefits was the equivalent of wearing incredibly tight shoes just for the temporarily feeling of relief you get by taking them off? In that moment, in those seconds, it might feel pleasurable, but only because you're inadvertently causing yourself pain and discomfort for the majority of your life. If knowing what you now know, you could go back in time and make it so you never had that first cigarette, just let me know by nodding your head. That's it. But I want you to imagine something even more sinister. I want you to imagine in that very first cigarette was a tiny microscopic egg of a parasite. And when you smoked that very first cigarette back then, all those years ago, a tiny egg lodged itself in your gut. And on the second cigarette, it fed that egg so it hatched. And on the third cigarette, you were giving the life source to this tiny creature that lodged itself in your gut. And then over the years, that creature became bigger. I want you to imagine an alien cockroach-looking creature lodged there in your gut. It has one food source: the nicotine that comes from tobacco. And if you can imagine that, just let me know by nodding your head. I want you to get a sense that it grew slowly but steadily. Those days, those weeks, what started off as a tiny creature there in your gut got bigger and bigger and more demanding. It made you want to smoke even when it wasn't in your interest to smoke, simply because this parasite needed that nicotine. Perhaps you can recall a time in your life that you're going through a medical issue, and yet that parasite insisted that you continued to smoke even back then. Think of the arguments that were caused, the emotional pain, and yet that parasite was so persistent. It influenced neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. So you felt bad until it rewarded you with feeling good when you had that few drags of a cigarette, and it fed on that nicotine because it wanted you to do more of that. It gave you that good, happy hormones to reward you for doing what it wanted you to do. No different from any dynamic where there is control. It was rewarding you for what it wanted and punishing you whenever you didn't play its game. It was greedy. It wanted that nicotine. It made you make choices that damaged relationships with perhaps the people you love more than anyone else. But you didn't realize there was this parasite right inside you, demanding that you feed it every day. And maybe it starts to make sense. Would you truly have made the choices that you were making if you weren't feeding this beast inside you? Of course not. You would have prioritized the emotions of other people, but this thing this thing inside you would cause you irritability, sometimes pain, discomfort, almost feel like it's chewing your insides if you didn't feed it. And whenever you did feed it, even with just one cigarette, it stopped the pain because it was rewarding you. It knew that if it did this, you'd continue to feed it forever while it gets bigger and more powerful. I want you to think about what this parasite inside you has cost you in your life. You don't need to be angry at you. You need to be angry at this creature inside you. Think of everything it's cost you. What it's done to your health. What it's done to your relationships. What it's done to your finances. What it's done to your focus and your attention. I want you to get a sense that this was never your friend. This has been extracting value from you, not giving value. Try and think of how this has made your life better. This parasite deep inside you. Has it really been good for you? Did it give you all those good times that it promised? Did it make you feel so good, so happy? Or did it give you the illusion of happiness, the illusion of relief, the illusion of good feelings, just enough so you kept feeding it? If you can get a sense that if this was a friend, a physical person that you knew and it took so much and gave you so little, would you want to be friends with this person? Or would you think enough is enough? I'm not willing to tolerate this anymore. I want you to use the power of your imagination to imagine the details of this parasite. Imagine its long crawly legs, maybe an antenna, maybe some kind of sharp teeth. You can see the colours, the scales perhaps. Maybe it even has like a little screeching or clicking noise. But imagine it there, right inside you. I want you to evaluate accurately that this is unpleasant, that this is not helping you. I want you to get a sense that this has been taken from you. The definition of a parasite is that it exists in the host and it takes resources from the host that is detrimental to the host. I want you to think about what this parasite has done for you. Has it taken from your health, your energy? Is your life better or worse off as a result of this parasite being there? If you get a sense that enough is enough, you'll do whatever it takes to destroy this parasite. I want you to consider it, because you could keep feeding it. You could keep feeding this parasite every time you smoke a cigarette, knowing that every time you stop for a while, it's going to try and punish you, manipulate you, influence you into having just one more, because it knows that just one more won't be the last. It will just be the next. And it's been doing this for years, decades, telling you that it's just one. Just this next one will make those bad feelings go away, but then they come back again. And you feed it some more, and you've been feeding this parasite for decades. But if you've now reached the point that you will do whatever it takes to kill this parasite, to starve this parasite, Let me know by nodding your head. I want you to imagine what will happen naturally when you try and kill this parasite. You don't think it's going to fight back? When you decide that your last cigarette was your last cigarette, it will try and influence you, manipulate you, control you. In the same way that a violent partner will make promises. It will get better in the future. This will be the last time. This parasite will try and make promises it can't keep. And if that doesn't work, it will try and control you with something painful, making it feel like maybe your arms and legs are aching, your skin is crawling, that you're being eaten from the inside. Because it knows that if you give in once, you'll give in again and again and again, and then it's got you exactly where it wants you. But what if you think about the people that you love the most? What it would be like to have maybe 5, 10, 15 additional years on this planet to make incredible memories. Are you willing to go through temporary discomfort and pain if you can have those wonderful things? What are you willing to do to kill this parasite, to kill this beast, to starve this beast? Many parents say they would die for their kids. But are you willing to live for them? Are you willing to kill this parasite for them? Even if it's tough, even if it's hard, are you willing to do that? And if you are, let me know by nodding your head. First few days will be the hardest, because it will fight back while it still has energy. But by day 3, 4, 5, it's getting weaker. It will still try its hardest to try and urge you to crave that cigarette. But you will stay strong, knowing that the hardest job has already been done. That now, while it's weak, you have a chance to kill it off for good. You will suffocate it and starve it, because it can only survive if you're having nicotine and consuming tobacco. And if you're not, day by day it gets weaker and weaker. You will reread perhaps journals or things you've written to increase that resolve. What does this cost you, and what do you stand to gain when you really destroy this parasite? After 7-8 days, you start to get feelings of pride and accomplishment that maybe a door has opened to a second chance at life. Maybe it feels that you're in the waiting room ready to be released from prison. You're not quite escaped yet, but you can taste freedom. And by 9 or 10 days, I want you to get a sense of tasting freedom, that you can actually experience what it feels like to feel that you're going to sleep relaxed, that you can wake up no longer with the first thought that you have to have a cigarette, but with the thought that you get to have a lovely breakfast. And it won't take long before all those old smells that have been affecting your clothes, as you start to wash your clothes, there'll be the occasional item that You then pick up and realize that this was the clothes of you when you were a smoker, and it smells disgusting for you, reminding you of that very first cigarette you had, perhaps as a teenager or a young version of you, and you'll remember just how unpleasant this was, because by then you can see things through the lens of a non-smoker, someone that doesn't desire cigarettes anymore. When the parasite is dead, you get your life back. That doesn't mean that life is easy. Life isn't easy for non-smokers either. But when a non-smoker goes through a tough time, they think of other things to do to manage their emotional state. Maybe they go for a walk. Maybe they do some exercise. Maybe they do something else entirely. Have a conversation with a friend, just watch some TV. But everyone goes through moments that challenge them, but non-smokers don't consider cigarettes as a way to manage that emotion. If you're ready to become a non-smoker by starving this parasite, let me know by nodding your head. And if you're willing to still do that, knowing that it won't be easy, but it will be worthwhile, let me know by nodding your head. You know it will fight back. But we're going to unlock the powerful emotional strength to give you the resolve to get through it. I want you to think of every tough situation that you've ever got through in your life and realize that you did it, you got through it, and this is just one final thing or the next thing to get through. Have you taken on bigger challenges than killing off a parasite? I think so. And if you can manage that, you can manage this. Things don't have to be easy. In fact, if they're challenging, won't that give you a bigger feeling of satisfaction, accomplishment, and personal pride? That's something that will fight back so viciously, you will not back down. You're going to choose this parasite, this alien cockroach-looking beast there in your gut over your own family, over your own future. You're willing to feed that rather than feed your future with incredible moments and memories. You can do, but why would you? I want you to imagine that once this has been starved to death, you then get the possibility of a new future, and I want you to imagine seeing that new future, seeing you as someone else, free of the desire to smoke, living life on your terms, having a new chance at life again. See that version of you smiling more, looking healthier, having experiences and moments that would give you genuine joy. Not this synthesized fabrication of pleasure that you thought that smoking was giving you. It didn't. It was just an illusion to keep you trapped, keep you feeding that parasite. But I want you to see a future where you're having genuine joy, genuine emotional connections, the kind of things that will actually light up your spirit and make you feel wonderful. And if you can see that future, a future where you're a non-smoker enjoying life, let me know by nodding your head. There's one final thing that we need to do before we leave, and that is realize that this parasite, albeit dead when you're a non-smoker, can be brought back to life with just 1 or 2 cigarettes. In fact, the first cigarette would just start to awaken it. It wouldn't be fully awake yet, but it would be starting to awake and would be very hungry. And the second cigarette, it would be wide awake and feeling like it hasn't eaten in years and would want to consume more than anything else. It would just be as big as it was before, but it would be reawakened. Therefore, you would need to be vigilant that once this parasitic creature is dead, you have the power to bring it back to life. And if you get any feelings, temptations, any thoughts in your head that just one cigarette won't do any harm, realize that one cigarette would start to awaken the parasite, and the second cigarette would be feeding the parasite, bringing it back to its previous full strength. So when you become a non-smoker, you need to make sure this parasite never wakes up again. And we're going to unlock that level of vigilance and determination, which is why it's so important that when you awaken from this experience, you will immediately throw away any cigarettes, ashtrays, lighters, anything that is linked to the identity of being a non-smoker. To kill the parasite, you have to kill the identity of you as a smoker. Anything linked to smoking could be branded items. You would need to destroy them or remove them, because the identity of you as a non-smoker is what's required for this parasite to be killed and never awaken again. And if you're ready to make whatever changes are needed to first of all kill the parasite and then secondly ensure it never wakes again, let me know by nodding your head. I want you to treat this adventure, this mission that you're on, as an act of generosity to yourself, but also to the people that you love the most. People that might get to see you for years longer than they would if you allow this parasite to stay alive. And if you're willing to do it for them just as much as you would do it for you, again, let me know by nodding your head. That's it. And then imagine you're now back on that beach, looking at the waves. Currently, you're still in the prison, but you found a way out. Currently, the parasite is still alive, and your job is to starve it to death. You're not free yet, but you can be. I want you to get a sense that you're already a non-smoker. You just have to go through a particular process so that you become a non-smoker that is free of this parasite, free of this addiction, free of this prison. And if you're willing to do whatever it takes to earn your freedom and earn a second chance at life, let me know by nodding your head. That's it. And now it's time to return to the present, but taking this resolve, this determination, this willingness to do whatever it takes for you and the people you love the most. Feel that you're now back in your own body, firmly in the present. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Just wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, get a sense that you're in your own physical body right now, that all parts return there in the present. As I count from 1 to 10 to awaken you, you will awaken with more determination than ever before, more resolve than ever before, with a clear image of what this parasite represents and what you need to do to kill it. You will awaken with that resolve, willing to do everything to become a non-smoker and to stay a non-smoker. Starting to count to awaken you. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.
Thank you for listening to The Hypnotist with Adam Cox, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. To automatically receive the latest episodes, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please share this episode with just one friend you think it could help. And if this episode helped you, please leave us a 5-star review.